Shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And what a delight I have right now to be talking to a Broadway actor, a TV actor, and right now an off-Broadway actor who is involved.
Only a little bit.
Oh, a little bit. What then?
Only a little bit off Broadway. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Literally, it's like one block. It's on 8th Avenue.
Yes.
Because he is busy helping commit the perfect crime. I don't mean that this is actually happening. I mean, he's in a show that has been playing for more than 15,000 performances since like 1987. He's just coming into it now. Catherine Russell, who has been on this program, she was in it from the very first day. She's still in it now, so we'll talk about that too. But we are talking with someone who's also done The Dukes of Hazzard. He spent about a decade on the TV show Smallville. You also saw him in a major role on Desperate Housewives. He is as a singer in the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame. Plus, you've seen him on Broadway and Grand Hotel and Chicago. And he is 1 degree of separation from Paul Sorbino. All these things with John Schneider. Shalom to you, John.
Hey, thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. My gosh, what an introduction. That was great. That was great. Yeah, this is terrific. What a blast I'm having with this group of people. You just mentioned this show has been running since 1987. So it is the longest running show of any kind in New York, but I think maybe anywhere. You know, maybe 39 Steps in the West End has been running that long, but I'm not sure.
Mousetrap, I think.
Mousetrap, yeah. But nobody's done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody's done it like Kathy has. I mean, Kathy has only, since 1987, she's missed 4 performances because she was 4 weddings for her siblings. So
if you have to miss a performance, that's a good reason. That's
a good reason.
Yeah.
Or your own wedding, right? But
so
she's
sorry, please. Yeah.
That's all right. She's amazing. She's a force. You know, she's not real big, but she's out there and she just grabs a hold of that stage with her feet and throws it around wherever she wants it. It's really great.
Well, how did you hook up with this show to do Perfect Crime off Broadway?
You know, it's one of those great things. I've been doing this a long time. So the phone rang and they said, "Hey, would you like to do the Perfect Crime off Broadway? We'd love to have you."
Oh, yeah.
And I said, absolutely. Let's, when? And it was like, well, you open Friday. So I came into this show with, I started rehearsal on Monday a week ago and I opened on that same Friday. So it's a little bit like being a professional skydiver, but having somebody throw your parachute out of the plane first and then say, "Okay, go get it, put it on before you hit the ground."
Well, can I ask, you came in to Grand Hotel after that had been running a while. Did you have a little more preparation for that?
Yeah, well, there are 2 weeks. 2 weeks usually is what it is. And when I did Grand Hotel, that was back in 1990. I did 487 performances of that, so I did a little over a year, and I thought that was amazing. You know, like, it's got to be record breaking. No, she just did her 15,000th performance of this show, so it's phenomenal. And like I said, she's a force to reckon with, and she also she's like making sure that the wardrobe is picked up. She's like making sure that there's water in the cooler. I mean, she does everything.
Well, she owns the theater, which is a help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that.
Well, yeah. No, that's great too. But, you know, with ownership comes all this responsibility, and she doesn't shun it. So she's doing 8 shows a week. She's teaching acting at some place, university here. I'm not sure. Maybe you know. And she's taking care of this theater, and she's probably working in the box office sometime too. So
I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. But usually it's 2 weeks. This was 4 days.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of dialogue. You know, this is like Clue. This is like, it happened in the library by the butler with the candlestick. You know, it's that sort of, you've got to remember what's going on. You've got to try to track with it as an actor, because there's a tendency, I think, in crime drama to think of Dragnet. Like when I was a kid, just the facts, ma'am. So the tempo of the questions and the answers had a tendency to just kind of follow, right over. And if you do that, I think people can't understand it. So
yeah. Perfect Crime is very complicated. I mean, I've seen it a couple of times, and I'm just like, wow, yeah, okay, somebody died.
Somebody died, and somebody did it.
Right.
But it does work. It follows out. As being the detective, I'm the detective that has to figure all of this stuff out. I'm one of those actor types that's pretty simple-minded. It needs to make sense. And once it makes sense, if I can say, okay, so wait a minute, so you said this, but this happened, then it's fine. And it's been so wonderful. It was a little trial by fire, it's going out in that amount of time, but got my first week under my belt. We have today off, and then hit the bricks again tomorrow. Yeah. So Wednesday we're dark.
How long are you in the show? How many?
I'm in the show until February 2nd, I think. 2nd or 3rd is my last performance, and so I don't know how many I'll do, but it's not 15,000.
So after that, do you go to another role somewhere? Or are you going to do music? Are you going to do more country music stuff?
I'm going to go back out with my guitar for a little bit, and then we're going to start. My wife and I are going to start a show called The Earls of Perry. So it's going to be a TV show very much like the Dukes of Hazzard, but the family's last name is Earl, and they live in Perry County, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, the county seat of Perry County, Kentucky is Hazzard. So there you go.
Permission from the originators of the Dukes of Hazzard?
Don't need it.
No,
don't need it. It's the Earls of Perry. Refrigerators don't need permission from washing machines. Oh, come on.
I need to check the Talmud on that, but you're probably. So, do you have any great memories? People are gonna. If I don't ask these questions, people are gonna get mad. So any great memories of doing the Dukes of Hazzard, working with Lopat, Catherine Bach, all those people?
Pat's great. Kathy's great. The cast we had was so wonderful. My favorite memories are all attached to Denver Pyle, though. Denver played my Uncle Jesse. And when I started the Dukes, I was only 18. So he took me under his wing and made sure that I didn't make any fatal mistakes. He doesn't, you got to make mistakes. You got to sit on your own stoves, as my father would have said. But Denver was, very, very good about pointing out, that's a pothole. I don't know how deep it is, but, be careful over there. And so my great memories, of course, when I was 18 and I wrecked a car, they gave me another one. So that was a great memory. I felt like.
Wait, are you talking in real life or on the show? Wait.
No, on the show.
Oh,
so
yeah, right.
We had hundreds of General Lees. So we'd have 13 ready to go at any time, and occasionally I'd come around a corner and I'd hit a tree or I'd do something, lose the car, and sure enough, somebody'd say, "All right, we'll take that one over there." And as a 18-year-old car nut, I mean, I've always loved cars. That was a dream come true, and to not have to put gas in them. I mean, nothing. It was really great.
Like wiper fluid. Somebody else did the wiper fluid. This is an important thing. But let me ask you: how many of your? I mean, it's weird that they would let you drive so quickly that you hit a tree. Weren't there stunt people every time once you start getting famous? It's like, no, you don't get in the car. We'll just do you for close-ups.
Well, we did a lot of the driving. We didn't do the jumps. We didn't do the really dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why I think Dukes is so fantastic, cars can fly and you can drive them away after you jump them. The reason that was so believable was because a lot of the driving, you could tell that it was us. Now, a lot of the really, really dicey stuff was not. But the car would come screaming around the corner, and I'd slide it up to the camera, and we'd get out, and you could tell that was really us. And I think that really added a lot. Who does that now? Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise does a lot of his stuff, but I think he goes a little too far. He's no longer a puppy, right? But none of us are puppies anymore.
Right, yeah.
But
I don't even trust myself to carry a Torah anymore. I'm pulling out of the ark. I'm like, no. When I was 50, I could. No, not so much. So
now that you're 51,
one's part of the scroll. I maybe touch. but I'm still letting other.
Okay. All right, great. So
Let me
funny.
ask you, speaking of dangerous stunts, what was
Yes.
it like playing Donut on The Masked Singer?
That was dangerous because that was a big piece of wardrobe. So that was, walking backstage like kind of like the robot from Lost in Space. It was great, but they are so meticulous. They keep everyone from everyone. You don't know who's on the show. So nobody on the show knows who's in any other costume,
Right.
except the wardrobe people. They're the only people. So as people would come onto the show and be eliminated, we didn't even know who they were. So there was never like when I did Dancing with the Stars. There's a spirit of community, but on Masked Singer, it's kind of like it's kind of like you're being questioned. All 12 of you are being questioned by different detectives in different rooms, and they kind of sequester you away from everybody else. So you kind of do that show. You have responsibility of having to sing inside that mask, and that is all they mic it. It's wonderful, but you never have that. We did it sort of a feeling. It's like you're on it, you sing. And then, you get hidden. Even when they pick you up at the hotel, you're wearing a face shield and a hooded sweatshirt and gloves.
Wow.
And so it was how they do that. I don't know how they managed to keep all the contestants a secret, not only from the contestants, but from each other.
Right, yeah.
I was there, I think it was a month I was there doing that show. Yeah, because I came in second. I almost won. I came that close to winning.
May I ask, whom did you lose to? Or
I don't even know.
Yeah, right, because they're wearing a costume. You never knew.
I don't even know. I know it was a cow. It was a cow. I was a donut. This was a cow. So we had donuts and milk. That's all.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's quality
entertainment,
my friends. I have to ask also on, because I got a lot of the information here from your wiki page. We want to talk about legends, and speaking of singing, did you pick up some pointers, or do you have any great stories of Johnny and June Carter Cash?
Oh, Johnny and June, they were great. I did a movie with John called Stagecoach. Waylon was in it, Willie was in it, Christopherson was in it, Anthony Newley was in it, Tony Francioso. It was great. Elizabeth Ashley, boy, what a trip she was. But at the time,
tell us an Elizabeth Ashley story then. Come on.
Well, she would have a tendency to get pizza late at night and fall asleep in it.
What?
She would come. She was a beautiful, beautiful woman, an amazing actress. And I don't remember a day where there wasn't like a little tomato sauce or a little. So it's just. People have unusual habits, right? But Johnny and June, I lived with them when we did Stagecoach. I think I had my 4th or 5th MCA album out, and it had just gone #1. The album had just gone #1. And John said, "Are you going to come back into town and do another album?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "When?" And I said, "Actually, right after this movie." And he said, "Well, come live with us. Stay with us while you're doing that in Hendersonville." And, we had spent, at that point, we'd only spent a couple of weeks together, but we spent a couple of weeks together sitting next to each other in Mescal, Arizona, on a stagecoach with me driving a team of 6 horses. So we were really good friends. And so I showed up at his door. I said, be careful what you wish for. I'm like the vampire. Once you invite me in, I'm there. And when I showed up, I was with my mother and my grandmother, because they were big Johnny Cash fans. And he met us at the door with his beautiful white shirt on. He had a tendency to wear white in his personal life. Beautifully starched shirt. And he said, "Hello, I'm John Cash." He introduced himself to my mother and to yeah, gee, I didn't know you were Johnny Cash. And he said, "Come on in, ladies." And then he stopped me at the door. And he said, "John Schneider?" I said, "Yep." And he said, "This is your house too now. And if I ever catch you treating it like it's not, you're no longer welcome in it." So gave me a hug, came in, and I spent about a year and a half.
Oh, really? Oh, my God.
Well, I was in and out. I was touring in and out and doing different
Oh,
things.
you're
But
not David.
that was my home base. That was my home base, and what a thrill to have that memory as this fellow, this incredibly legendary survivor,
Oh, yeah.
right? Be truly my best friend. So, and I will tell you, Rabbi, that I believe that during that time that I was truly his best friend. So I loved
Apart from
every minute of
June,
it.
not counting June.
Oh, June. No, June was great. But I tell you, June is also Kathy reminds me quite a bit of June, kind of, you know, kind of a force, like kind of plowing through the room rather than walking through the room.
Fair
So
enough.
June always walked with a purpose. She always made sure that you knew there was, what'd she say? There's food in the drawer. So, very country folks, and there was a warming oven, and there was always food in it of some. I don't know if June cooked it or not, but John, and they call you John Schneider or John Schneider. John Schneider, there's food in the drawer.
That's a
Okay.
family
And
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say, "How you doing, Miss June?" And she said, "Oh, I'm just sitting here trying to matter."
Oh.
So she's a doll. She's a doll, and what an amazing couple they were.
Are there any surprising? I know we're spending a lot of time on, but yeah, it's just a fascinating character. Anything we would be surprised to learn about Johnny Cash?
Yeah, Johnny was goofy. Johnny was a very goofy guy. Made sound effects, did weird when he would. This is gonna sound so weird, but when we'd go to record, we recorded a couple songs together. A lot of people clear their throat, a lot of people gargle. John made like barnyard sounds because he wanted to get his low voice, so he'd be like, okay, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, he was, and I mean, such a goofy guy. And in the movie that they did, they captured him really well. But where they really captured him, there was a little scene where Joaquin Phoenix had some peanuts, and he was offering them to June, and then he'd eat them, and then he'd laugh, and then he'd go get another one, and he'd offer it, then he'd eat them. That was really Johnny Cash. When anybody asks me about him, the number one word that comes up, first word comes up for me, is goofy, and it made him so lovable. I'm not sure that he knew he was Johnny Cash. I don't think he understood the power of that presence. Because before we go on stage, he'd say, "John Schneider, do I look legendary?" And I'd say, "Yeah." And he'd say, "Okay." And then he'd go out on stage.
Well, let me ask you, since you mentioned them, do you have a Waylon story? I mean, you didn't live with him, but you acted with him, and Willie too.
Well, sure. Well, Willie, I bet you Willie is still jogging. I don't know for sure, but when we did Stagecoach, it was a long time ago. But he was probably my age now, maybe a little younger than my age now. But he's up every morning jogging 3-4 miles, at when he was in his 60s, and I'm sure he did it up until his 80s. He's one of those. He's much more fit than you would have any idea.
You figure he would have no lung capacity because, but hey.
It might have built his lungs up, One of these days, they say we're going to have to really figure out what kind of a world we're going to leave for Willie Nelson.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
He's not going anywhere. One quick Waylon story. Waylon was doing an episode of Dukes, and he and Jesse came over to my house and heard, their Texas ribs and all that kind of stuff. So I'd been bragging, or somebody, probably me, been bragging about my Texas ribs and invited them to dinner, never dreaming they'd accept. So I had to run quickly and get some Texas ribs somewhere on the way home, and I put them in the oven and pretended that I had made them myself. I guess that's called lying. I think that's called lying. Stretching the truth.
Harmless.
And about halfway, yes, right. Halfway
well,
through
I have
dinner,
a Brooklyn.
Waylon said,
"Those are here."
Right. About halfway through, Waylon said, "You didn't have anything to do with making these, did you, Hoss?" I said, "Well, I did order him and pick him up at the store."
There you go.
So anyway, so he was a wonderful guy. You know, those guys were really, you know, I see country music folk today, and they're kind of, you know, outlaws, and not, you know, you don't become an outlaw by buying a bandana at a truck stop.
True. Or you don't become, in your case, or as you have famously said, a country singer if you're Beyonce, and you should be a pop singer. You got into some flack over saying that. But.
Well, yeah, but it's, you know, it's not that you can't do it, but you can't. I don't think you can just jump into something like that any more than a country singer could jump into rhythm and blues. So, you know, there are people that have done it. Darius Rucker did it. A lot of people.
Bob Dylan did it. Yeah, yeah.
Kid Rock has been on the rap side. He's been on the true country side. You know, but it's the impression I got there was that I can do anything I want. You know, I don't think that I don't think that her team was taking the genre seriously. You know, like country music is something that's easy. You can just jump in and do. No, country music is very, very hard. Now, you may have a natural aptitude for it, but I don't think she does. I said in that same interview, I said, you know, this is one of the most amazing singers since Whitney Houston, but country is different.
Well, you were born in New York, so it's interesting that you opted for country instead of folk, instead of pop, instead of
Well, when I first started Dukes, I was on CBS record label, and that was a little bubblegummy. It was a company called the Scotti Brothers. Yeah. So they tried that, but then the guy that ran MCA, his name is Jimmy Bowen, also produced "Strangers in the Night" with Sinatra, by golly, and he heard the last album I did for CBS, and he said, "Why don't you let me have John over here at MCA, and we'll run with the country genre." Well, I am from Mount Kisco, New York, but my father played in a square dance band with a bunch of pilots called the Crop Dusters. So they were all single engine pilots, and it was so very natural for me because, you know, once you're out of Manhattan, once you're in Westchester County, you're in the country. So, you know, so where I grew up looks a whole lot more like Hazzard County or Smallville than any people think New York is just one sidewalk from Broadway to Buffalo, and it's, you know, they're just, I mean, I'm looking at Central Park right now, but I'm looking at a lot of buildings right now too, and this is what they think all of New York is.
Yeah. For me, it's all Brooklyn and the Catskills, but that's a very different.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's a song. You're gonna have to write that. Brooklyn and the Catskills.
Brooklyn and the Catskills. You can write.
Yeah, that'll work. That Nebraska. Let's get the Catskills. Working on my math skills. Okay.
Now, by the way, we were talking about dangerous things before. Did you actually almost, I mean, it doesn't say that you almost drowned, but when you were a kid, did you do something really, 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 really dumb to be a magician?
No, I'm still here.
What?
I mean, I did it, but it wasn't dumb. I survived, you know. So,
well, did you change? How did you do it? Tell the story.
So I used to do magic, a lot of magic. When I was a kid, I was fascinated with magic. I'd come down here to a place called Tannen's, save my money up all year.
Tannen! Oh my God! Yeah. Tannen's Magic Shop. Yes.
Yeah. So I'd come down here and spend everything I saved all year. And one of the things you wind up doing when you get into magic is eventually you get into learning about Houdini and starting to do escape tricks. So I had my friends tie me up with clothesline and then chain me up and then lock me. And my mother was working for IBM, so she got home at the apartments, and I said, "Hey, Mom, watch this!" And I jumped in the deep end of the pool. And, you know, I'm doing all my stuff, and of course, people, "Oh, did you die?" No, I didn't die. I'm telling you the story, right? So I got out, but, you know, part of that is showmanship. A big part of escape stuff is showmanship. You don't want to drown, so the first, you know, I was out of that stuff really before I hit the bottom of the pool.
So you really knew what you were doing. It's you can get that from the Wiki article. It just makes it sound like you were some dumb kid strapping hooks on you and jumping.
Yeah,
you knew your stuff.
Oh, no. I was doing magic for kids' parties at that point. already at 13 years old. But my mother did tell me when I got out that if I had drowned, she'd have killed me.
Did you ever think of being post-teen? If, let's say, the acting thing hadn't taken off, the music thing hadn't taken off, did you think you might become a Copperfield or a Blackstone?
Well, he wasn't around yet. Yeah. And yes, absolutely. There was Dunninger. We had Dunninger's Complete Encyclopedia of Magic. There was the Di Vernon, this amazing sleight of hand guy. I had a dream to become a member of the Magic Castle, and at 1984 or so I did. So I'm a lifetime member of the Magic Castle. I wrote and directed the last episode of Dukes of Hazzard, and it's where Roscoe makes Boss Hogg disappear at a talent show at the Boar's Nest. So I carried that magic bug with me the whole time. And I still dabble in it a little bit, but my hands just aren't as steady as they used to be. Whose are, right? Whose are? No, I'm fine. Yeah, but I shoot with this hand, right?
Now, speaking of shooting, you stayed.
Oh boy.
I'm not going to the Alec Baldwin thing. I'm going here in terms of shooting a camera. Like you don't.
Oh, I was thinking maybe we'll send Alec to New Jersey and get rid of these drones.
Not bad. I can do this.
Okay, so shooting, filming, yes. What?
Yeah, no. Did you want to? At a certain point, a lot of actors, when they've reached the 35 or something, like, I think I'll be more behind the camera. How often do you get behind to direct rather than perform?
Oh, quite a bit. I lived in Louisiana for a decade or so and made a bunch of independent films down there. And I was in some of them as the lead guy, but I wrote and directed all of them. And it was really, it's quite wonderful. It's a wonderful, we did nine movies down there in 10 years. And it's a great feeling to be able to start from the inspiration of an idea, then flesh out a story, flesh out a script, and then put it in front of the camera.
Sure.
So to get to see what the cinematographer does with it that you didn't think of, to see what the actor's interpretation is that's often, most of the time, better than your interpretation. So not yours, I mean, the collective we.
Yeah.
But it's really like, I can't remember the movie where they said, I got a barn, I got a piano, let's do a show. Yes. Right.
But what happened to the studio? Why did you stop with the big? Because it was supposed to be for independent filmmaking, like a Sundancey thing, but in Los Angeles taxes and regulations and stuff. So
yeah, it's crazy out there. Yeah. Well, I think it's going to come back. It's there was an issue. There's an issue with after my wife passed away. There's issues with her estate and some members of her family that. Need I say more?
Well, no. If there's legal things, you better.
It's a legal mess, but it's okay. It's a beautiful place. But still, the Earls of Perry going to shoot that in Kentucky, on location in Kentucky. So it's you can't stop an independent dreamer. You just can't.
You are a Louisville slugger, if you will.
Yes. Now, do you have
a couple
I'm excited
more minutes?
about that.
Do you have a couple more minutes with us? Great. Because
sure, absolutely.
It's so much fun talking with JOHN Schneider. Remember, you're seeing him on a little screen here, but you can see him live and in person because he is in Perfect Crime through February 2nd. It's off-Broadway. It's over at it's in the theater building, they call it, the Theater Center.
Yeah.
The Anne Bernstein Theater. Jewish name! Over
fourth floor. Come on up. It's a great thing. And I saw this show, I think maybe 2009. The Perfect Crime. So I saw it before, and I remember watching it and thinking, oh man, you come in here, you got to put your thinking cap on. I mean, you really have to pay attention. So I tell people out in the lobby beforehand, I say, look, pay very close attention, but if you feel like laughing, laugh your ass off. If you feel like gasping, do it, because this is a very intimate setting. Off-Broadway, the big difference between Broadway and off-Broadway is there is really no separation between the audience and the performers. And there's only 4 of us. And so we feed off of your reactions so much more because we can hear you. On a Broadway stage, there's usually an orchestra pit and there's there's a degree of separation that kind of is the enemy of intimacy. Big theaters. And now it seems like and I haven't been to a show, and I can't go obviously because I'm working every night. But it seems to me that Broadway has really skewed technological.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard anybody say how much they loved any particular song in Back to the Future, but I've heard them all say, how do they make the car fly?
Good point.
So,
that's not
and I love
show.
that.
There are shows that still have great songs and great.
No, Chicago is still running. My God, Chicago. She had it coming. They had it coming. Chicago's a great show. I did Chicago as well. But when you go to this theater and see this show, or you support off-Broadway shows, you will really see dare I say, the art form and the artists at about the most intimate you possibly can. It's why when I did Magic, I really loved the illusions are great. I love David Copperfield, love all that stuff. But close up Magic, it's like, my God, how did you do that? And when you come to this show, if you're sitting in the first 5 rows, you're basically in our lap, in our living room. So
you want to be in JOHN Schneider's, and a lot of women over the years, my God, lived a lot of money.
I'm Santa. What would you like for Christmas? Anyway, please support this kind of theater. Come to our show. Obviously, I want you to come to Perfect Crime. Bring your thinking caps. But beyond that, support. It's like independent film. Support off-Broadway shows. It is truly an art form that we are working without a net. There's no special effects to fall back on. There's no underscoring to fall back on. It's us and you. And this, to me, is what theater is really about.
Now, a couple more quick questions for Schneider. So, Mazel Tov, you had mentioned, the passing of your third wife, but then you met how did you meet Dee Dee Sorvino?
A mutual friend that knew Paul and Dee Dee, also knew Alicia and I. And after Alicia passed, I got a text, and this guy said, "Hey, I'm not pushing anything here, but I think you should commiserate with Dee Dee Sorvino. Paul passed away, and I was in Los Angeles to do The Masked Singer. Of course, I couldn't tell her that. So we met. We met while I was, and she'd say, "What movie are you doing?" And I said, "Well, it's just some independent thing." And I started anyway. So we met at it's a wonderful story. We met at the Hollywood Museum for an Abbott and Costello exhibit that was opening up. Hey, Abbott! And long story short, she made it okay for me to laugh, and I made it okay for her to cry. And we tangoed a little bit, but not for a very long time. I think when you have gone through something as devastating as the loss of a spouse, you do realize, people kind of cavalierly say, well, life is too short. So life is too short. I know that. So if you have the opportunity to team up with someone who gets it and who gets something as intimate and as devastating as what we had both gone through, then grab a hold of them with both hands. Because talk about being unequally yoked, you couldn't possibly, I don't believe, have a meaningful rest of your life relationship with someone who didn't understand what the loss of a spouse was like. So we got married by we were on a trip, and we got married in Vegas the day I asked her to marry me, July 23rd last year. I asked her at 2:15, and she said, "I have to wait." And I said, "Okay." She's all about numbers, so she waited until 3:33, and she said yes. And I'd forgotten the question at that point. No, so.
Well, why was the number 3? What is
I don't know. I don't know. But so we went to downtown Vegas, found a place to get a marriage license, and then went to a drive-through chapel and got married in I think it was a 72 Cadillac convertible, kind of like Boss Hogg's car on the Dukes. And the only available person to marry us was Beetlejuice. So we were married. I know, you can't make this up.
I gotta see the photo. Do you have the photo album with you of this?
Yeah, we got. I'll send you some. Yeah, I'll send you a picture or two.
Just because.
It's great because, well, yeah, people say, "Oh, did Elvis do it?" I said, "Nope,
No.
Beetlejuice." So I had to say, "I do, I do, I do." So, so it was great. We've been laughing ever since. We've been laughing ever since. She is a force as well. You know, powerful, strong. Women are, my gosh, if you're lucky enough to have somebody like that think you're the bee's knees, then hang on to them. Did I say the bee's knees? I did. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That was my grandmother just showed up. My grandmother just showed up, I think. The bee's knees.
One other question for you, though. I am obviously a man of the cloth, albeit weathered gabardine here. But
right.
When you suffered such a terrible, tragic calamity, you are a born-again kind of Christian kind of person, a deep believer. Wasn't it tested at that point? Didn't you go, God, I met this wonderful third wife here, and you take her away from me in this horrible way? You know, the hell with you. I'm going to be an atheist.
Yeah. I didn't do that. I'm not sure why. You know, I kept waiting for that to happen. But when the sickness was so devastating and so long term, it wasn't years, but you know, it seemed like forever. So by the time the last day came around, it is devastating, but it was more like, I can't stand to see someone in this kind of pain. So there's some solace in that kind of changes your perspective to not taking someone from here, welcoming someone there. And I think that's important. You know, I believe that my mother and my father and all my relatives that I've lost, I think they're all jumping and happy and healthier than they've ever been here in a world more beautiful than we can possibly imagine. So I know that we all will, you know, have another bagel. I believe that with the best wine you've ever tasted. So
I'm religion on that one, but so wow.
Yeah.
No, I believe, I hope for that from my personal. Except there was one asshole uncle, and I want him in limbo for a little bit, and then
he's probably not there anyways. You know, there's a place for assholes too.
Now, so. Have you ever turned down or thought about turning down a role because it conflicted with, you know, there was nudity, or whatever, or something that challenged you as a man of faith, where you wanted a role, but it was pushing you or not? You
know, people don't. I'm pretty open about my religious views, my political views, all of those things. So people, unless they're screwing around with me and they want to see if I'll just do something that they know is against what my public persona is, they don't bother. You know, they don't bother coming to me. I don't know that if I scare them or they're just like, okay, well, you know, he's not going to want to do this anyway. So I haven't had that, because, you know, they know I won't bother. You know, I'll read something, I'll get to a certain point and say, you know, I can't. You know, good luck to you. You know, I appreciate independent thought. I appreciate independent filmmaking, but this is not for me. And then that's it. You know, that's it. I am the same guy when the camera's off that I am when the camera is on. I can't help it. I think that's the New Yorker in me.
Right. Well, the Mount Kisco New Yorker, not the Manhattan New Yorker, but the Kisco guy. Yeah.
Oh, you people from Manhattan, you always feel it's so different.
Careful.
Okay, fine.
You people. No, I'm kidding.
I know.
With JOHN Schneider, who's in Perfect Crime off-Broadway right now. It's at the Ann Bernstein Theater in the Theater Center at 210 West 50th Street. We even have a phone number on this, 212-921-7862 for tickets. I'll read that again, 212-921-7862. Get your tickets, and we have one last question for John. You summed up Johnny Cash with the word goofy, right?
Yes.
To sum you up, what word would you want? What word do you think they would use?
Storyteller.
I love
Storyteller.
it.
Yeah.
And you've told some wonderful stories today with us. We wish you much
Thank you, Rabbi.
success with your music, as well as Perfect Crime and everything else. And the movie. What was the name of the movie we should look for again? You're going to be shooting?
To Die For is out right now. You go to JohnSchneider.shop. And the movie is called Shop. JohnSchneider.shop. The movie is called To Die For. And that's the latest movie that came out of the studio down there, and I think it's quite wonderful.
But the one you're doing in Kentucky.
Oh, the one in Kentucky. That's called The Earls of Perry. But you won't see anything. You won't see anything about that. We can't even film that until the leaves are back on the trees. So that's going to be something you'll be able to see the fall of 25. But To Die For, you can watch right now.
This has been a conversation to die for and to live for with John.
You're funny.
Shalom.
I see what you did there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my
Shalom.
friend.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, Rabbi. And to you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.